Hello viewers, welcome to Frankly Speaking, NTV's fortnightly English talk show. This is the 7th edition of this program. Today, our guest is the High Commissioner of India, Madam Bina Shikri. Madam Bina Shikri has been trotting around the globe, I must say. Before coming to Bangladesh, she was in Malaysia, and of course she was in the United Nations, in Paris, and across the world. She brings a wide experience with her in diplomacy as she comes to Bangladesh. Commissioner, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
To the studios of NTV.
It's good to be here.
And as I was saying that you have been globe-trotting. So you were in Malaysia and now you're in Bangladesh. Both are Muslim countries. Do you find any commonality or a difference between these two countries?
Each country is unique in its own way. And in my 3 decades and more of diplomatic service, I have served on practically every continent. I've been in Moscow for 6 long years, 2 terms of duty. I've been in Nepal, another neighboring country. And I think, and I've been in Hong Kong, which was the Far East. And I think that I have learned that in each country, you deal with the uniqueness of that country, because in the uniqueness of the country lies its strength.
Right. What is the strength in Bangladesh that you find, the unique strength that you say?
I think the unique strength of the people of Bangladesh. They're very friendly, very warm, and in fact, the friendship I have received in the less than 3 months that I have been in
More
Dhaka.
friendly than people in India?
Well, I think we have such strong fraternal ties between India and Bangladesh. The sense of shared history, that's another thing which is very special about being here in Bangladesh. You do feel that very much, you know, you do feel your civilizational heritage is common, your cultural roots are common. And those strong elements of commonality, of shared traditions, makes you feel immediately a very strong bond of friendship. You don't feel you're talking to somebody new, you're meeting somebody for the first time.
So I can say that you're feeling very much at home already.
I am very much at home.
That's very nice to know. But look, Commissioner, this is March, and for Bangladesh, there's several months which are very important in its historical calendar. We have February, we have December. March is the month we in fact, country. And it is an historical fact that India was very much involved at one point of the war. Can you reflect back about India's involvement in this war, and how would you currently describe the relations between the two countries?
Well, if you look back on the historical context, India's involvement in the liberation of Bangladesh was very complete and intensive. It was as a neighbor, as a friend. I remember very much the events of March 1971. I was in a very impressionable age. I had just finished university and I was preparing to join the civil service. You know, you do all the exams and interviews. And I remember the gripping effect that the events of 71, March onwards, right till December, had on the people of India. For one thing, we were totally shaken by what was going on, the images that were coming, what we were learning about what was happening. And I remember the other deep impression that there was complete unanimity across the board in India that we had to help, and that this was something which you know, a neighbor had to come. Unanimity in that. You know, the refugees.
Why was this unanimity? Why India wanted to help?
You know, it was, in fact, something I'm talking here outside the political setup, because here at that time I was a student, as I said, and preparing to join the civil service. I think it was, you know, you saw what was happening. The reporters were coming, the refugees were coming. We had soon about 10 million, as you know, refugees in camps in West Bengal, in Tripura, other states, neighboring states of India. And the need to help, everybody said, of course we have to help.
Madam High Commissioner, when you say that, you know, you have to build on relations between a win-win situation, some of the things that have come up, and what we diplomatically say that usually friendly ties between India and Bangladesh are sometimes not so friendly because of some of the issues that for the press way of thinking is these are the issues which can be solved across the table. One of them is the border killings. According to one human rights group in Bangladesh, in 2002, there were more than 200 killings in the border. The Border Security Force of India opened fire. Sometimes they kidnap the farmers who are very close to the... You must have noticed since you were here that there have been reports of that kind.
You know, I have seen some of the reports, and I can tell you that what we do whenever we see a report, such a report in the paper, we immediately send back a message to the BSF, to our Home Ministry and to a Foreign Ministry to obtain the facts of the situation. And I can tell you that there are many cases, many cases where it turns out that these incidents reported in the media were factually not correct. And in fact, we have issued press releases saying this incident of that reported, so-called incident reported in that particular day in a paper, this is actually what happened, these are the facts of the case. And papers here have carried it. But the perception is such that you read only the first one, you know, and that may have got a wrong kind of headline. But when the facts come, it's different, it may be buried in some small page. And I can tell you also that if you see something here, there may be something of a similar nature with the roles reversed coming in the Indian media. So it is most important to maintain a dialogue, to maintain a very close interaction between the BSF and the BDR, between our home ministries, between our two governments, so that such misperceptions cannot be allowed to play themselves out. After all, in a border of 4,000 plus kilometers, it is the longest border that India has with any of its neighbors, our border with Bangladesh.
Yes, it's very porous also.
Yes, so with such a long border, with so much interaction, a very porous border, the thing is not that problems will not happen. The key is how we handle the problems when they do happen. We have to handle the problems in a way that builds confidence, that removes any misperceptions.
It means it's a greater interaction between the concerned border forces or the ministries.
That's right. There is really very often an information gap, not only on this issue, but on many issues. And I think it is the role of the media to fill that information gap. It is the role of the government to fill that information gap. And how to do it? By greater communications and greater dialogue. So on all issues, including on this one, I would be in favor of greater communications and greater dialogue.
And you'll do your part.
Absolutely, absolutely. For example, if there is an incident, I would very much welcome that, to be asked, okay, what are the facts in this case?
Yes, since we'll be back to this, we'll just take a short break. Viewers, please don't go away. We're now taking a short break. Viewers, welcome back. You're watching Frankly Speaking. And our guest today is the High Commissioner of India, Madam Bina Shikri. The High Commissioner, we were talking about, building up of our greater interaction on the issue of border skirmish or killings. But there's other border issue that has dominated the Indian-Bangladesh relations. That is the so-called Bengali-speaking people who are sometimes forced into Bangladesh from the Indian side. And some, as far as our research goes, that some were there maybe from the partition of the subcontinent in 1947, but in a very recent move in the past year or so, a number of incidents like the BSF bringing in people who are said to be Bengali speaking, but Bengali speaking is not only from Bangladesh, they can be of the West Bengal. How do you explain this?
This issue is linked with the very large number of people of Bangladesh nationality who are in India at any one given time in different parts of India. Now this again is an issue which needs to be discussed between governments of India and Bangladesh, and we hope very much what we would like is to create a forum, a dialogue forum at the governmental level where this can be discussed. And we're looking forward to such a series of discussions in the very near future.
Because don't you think it's better that overgroup that the Indian government feels that they from Bangladesh, instead of forcing them across the border,
it's not. In fact,
it's verifying very
exactly.
strictly that Bengali speaking necessarily doesn't mean because they
No,
are Bengali
absolutely
speaking.
not. Actually, you're absolutely right, and there is no question of forcing. Sometimes, in fact, I have seen the same reports where even the people concerned would have said the village they are from. So I think that these issues, again, is not something that should be played out or out of all proportion just as one or two isolated incidents. And you see, when one person may say, well, they wanted to come back to their homes, the other person will say, you're forcibly sending them back to their homes. And then there's a question of verification. There is a whole process to say, when a person says, I belong to so-and-so village.
Verification is the word.
It's the word, it's the word. And this can only be done in a very calm atmosphere of having the confidence that there is a forum where these issues can be discussed, and such problems as there are will be ironed out. And with two neighboring countries like India and Bangladesh, issues like this will keep coming up. I don't think there is any benefit to be derived by either country to blow these out of all proportion. Rather, we should say, let's sit and talk about it.
Well, everything is a matter of exchange of ideas, but why I mention this because they were in the newspapers. We as reporters have been reporting. Some of us visited the borders. Anyway, we have explained your position, but there was another important issue that has also dominated the press here. That's I was mentioning a while back. It was the India's so-called river linking, 37 rivers linking project, which is a multi-million-dollar project, which is yet to get approval or get off from the ground. But the very fact that this idea is circulating in the minds of the Indian policymakers is scaring Bangladesh as a downstream country.
I think that, again, on the river interlinking project, there is a complete misconception of this as it is covered in the media. And I think that what is being discussed in India, that fact needs to be understood first and foremost. And the moment that fact is understood, all misconceptions disappear. The project at a very, very conceptual stage that is being discussed in India, it's a concept. It's not yet a project, it is a concept. But even as a concept, what is being discussed is a floodwater surplus utilization program. Now, when we talk of floodwater surplus utilization, floodwater surplus is a problem that adversely affects India and Bangladesh. We know that during floodwater season, a lot of Bangladesh gets inundated. We are talking here of a way of mitigating that problem. Nobody in India is talking at all of any concept or any project that touches lean season flows. So when you're talking of a floodwater surplus utilization concept, how can it be scary?
It's scary because in the effect of the withdrawal of water at the upper stream.
No, there is no withdrawal involved. There is no withdrawal involved because floodwater surplus is excess wastewater. It goes into the sea, whether it goes through Bangladesh territory or Indian territory.
So you're assuring us that Bangladesh will get its normal water, and it's only the excess floodwaters which will be used.
That is the concept. That is the absolute concept. As I said, it's only at the conceptual stage. But as a concept, this is what is the basis for it.
But Bangladesh and Nepal also wants a tripartite kind of understanding with India in sharing of the rivers.
Well, I think that the first, what we would like to do very much is to develop very effectively and closely our discussions with Bangladesh on the problems that affect us bilaterally, just as we have very effectively worked out with Nepal our problems. And so with Bangladesh, for example, the Ganga Waters Treaty signed in 1996 is an excellent example of a win-win arrangement between two neighboring countries. And the results of that Ganga Waters Treaty, the positive effects.
Sorry, please go on.
On Bangladesh are evident for all. With effect from January 98, we're talking of lean season flows here. With effect from 98, which was the first full year of operation, of the Ganga Waters Treaty, Bangladesh has been getting more than the minimum stipulated in the Ganga Waters Treaty.
Right.
And this has been a great positive. I think Bangladesh's
But
food
even
production
then,
has
as I was
increased.
saying that sometimes the amount of water that is supposed to be given to Bangladesh under the agreement is said to be less than what is in the agreement.
I can show you facts and figures.
Desertification is often blamed.
No, first of all, I think that to blame it on this is exactly the misperception that I want to correct. Because the factual figures are there. And any of your viewers would like to see it, I'm prepared to give it to them. Of the actual flows as measured by a joint team of experts of India and Bangladesh at Farakka Barrage and at Harding Bridge. The factual figures show that the flows into Bangladesh are much higher than the stipulated minimum.
So have you talked with the government on this? I mean,
we do have a dialogue.
You're exchanging
yes.
documents and all?
Yes, of course. The last team measurement took place about 10 days ago. And it did come in the Bangladesh media as well. Of course, it was a very small paragraph tucked away in some part of the papers, but it was there. It was there.
All right. And the other problem is a huge trade imbalance between the two countries, both formal and informal. As we said, we have a very porous border, so the informal trade is, I mean, gigantic. But businessmen in Bangladesh have a very common complaint. It's not a common product. They're into different products. They say they have good market in India for, say, for toiletries, good market for the batteries. But there's an anti-dumping tax debate on Bangladesh's battery, and it's going to the WTO. Why are the businessmen complaining that from the Indian point of view, there are tariff and non-tariff barriers, and along with it came this anti-dumping case against Bangladesh batteries, which is qualitatively very good and very competitive?
Well, you know, first let me look into the broader aspect of trade issues. It is true that India's exports to Bangladesh are more than, much more, it is true, than Bangladesh exports to India. But there are three aspects to this. First of all, what are these exports? What are India's exports to Bangladesh? And I think if you look at that, India's exports to Bangladesh are, a lot of them, primary products which go into Bangladesh's manufacturing and infrastructure developing and export industries. Now, as such, these exports from India, which are cost competitive, which are of international standard, and which actually are enabling the Bangladesh economy to have its own export industry at a very cost competitive level. So these products are actually improving the competitiveness of Bangladesh's exports. So I do not see how or why this factor of Bangladesh buying at the best price, where your transport costs are lowest. So how is that a problem? I do not understand. Now say, for example, your garment exports. It's a great industry. I think it's one of Bangladesh's great achievements to have done so well in this. What you are getting from India constitutes a good proportion of the value of your garment exports. And these products coming from India are helping you in every way.
That's where I can tell you that...
Same for your infrastructure development, for your construction industry, for even your ceramics industry. So the fact of these exports taking place, I think, is a positive. Under the new WTO regulations, any private sector company in India can bring anti-dumping, in any country, can bring anti-dumping cases if they feel that there is a problem. So this case was brought by certain individuals. Once the case is mooted, there's a quasi-judicial procedure that has to be gone. So that takes some time, they do all the investigation. And that was done. And once that procedure is over, then at the next stage, that is where a diplomatic solution to the problem can be found. We are now at that stage, and in fact, Government of India has conveyed more than once that we are very prepared and happy to look at a diplomatic solution to the problem should the Bangladesh parties involved be interested in that. So we are actually suggesting a solution to the problem. And it is up to the Bangladesh side now to see how they would like to see a solution to the problem. I know that there have been initial consultations in the WTO on the subject. And of course, if you go through the WTO procedure, it's a very long procedure, 12 to 18 months, a lot of money.
But
and
this is the good news. You said that you're trying to solve it diplomatically.
Absolutely.
So this is
absolutely. We are fully prepared, and this is because at this stage, when the quasi-judicial part of it is over, now the governments come in. So now is a time when we are saying, look, we are very happy to do this. Please let us just,
we look
but
forward that you can.
It's up to the Bangladesh company and the
I hope that there will be definitely a positive solution to this issue.
And I would like to also talk about what you mentioned about para-tariff, non-tariff barriers. I'd like to assure you that there are absolutely no barriers of any kind as far as Bangladesh exports to India are concerned.
In Bangladesh, can see all the Indian channels, but television channel owners in Bangladesh are saying for the last 1 month or so, they're not being able to broadcast their programs in India. And what do you say of that?
Let me assure you right here and now that there is absolutely no difficulty, no ban, no official barrier to Bangladesh channels being shown in India. And I can tell you that the Indian government has never, ever banned programs from any country. But the problem is that this has to be a direct business-to-business agreement between the Cable Operators Association in India, in different parts, specifically in whether Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, anywhere, and between the Bangladesh broadcasters. In fact, I myself have proposed, I have discussed this at the highest level. I do see this in the papers very much now and then, but I can say clearly that there is absolutely no problem. Rather, I have invited the Honorable Minister of Information to participate in a very important conference on all such media and entertainment issues, which takes place in Mumbai every year. This is called the Frames Conference. It's organized by our Chamber of Commerce, FICCI.
When is it happening?
Second week of March, 15th, 16th March. And we've invited His Honorable Minister of Information. We hope he will go with a big delegation of broadcasters, of TV and other media personnel who could then meet their counterparts and work out business-to-business deals right there and then.
Right. So I think, Commissioner, if you play your role, I think the people of India can see this interview. Otherwise, they'll miss it. And just coming to the last of it, it's election year in India. Do you think that if there's a change of government in India, there will be a change of policy in regards to Bangladesh?
I think that in Indian elections, foreign policy issues have never played a role. Rather, India's foreign policy has always been a matter of national consensus. Every Prime Minister has done their best, and I would say always succeeded, in making sure that foreign policy is a matter of national consensus, that there is no disagreement among the parties on foreign policy. And for our neighboring countries, this is all the more so. So our very important mandate of friendship with Bangladesh, of developing the friendship in every means possible, will certainly continue. With greater vigor, greater strength, it can only go up.
We look forward to that.
Thank
well,
you.
We've come to the end of this program, and our guest today was Her Excellency Ambassador High Commissioner Bina Shikri, and she has very clearly stated that Bangladesh and India are generally a friendly country, but still there are some problems which need to be solved through greater interaction at all levels. Thank you for being with us, and High Commissioner, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.